It is 21 after 4 CAT right here on the Upside on Channel Africa.
Speaking of calculate, we need to calculate how much money you girls are spending on these men. It is going as far as creating debt in their name. I'm trying my best to be as factual and as objective about this without losing my mind at the girlies who are spending money on their men. But let's bring perhaps an expert to talk about this. Joining us is the National Debt Advisors, Sebastien Alexanderson. Thank you so much, Sebastien, for joining us on the Upside. Let's talk about it. What is happening in our relationships? Why are we so comfortable getting debt in the name of love?
Good afternoon. Yeah, that's a really good question, and one we face almost each and every single day. I mean, we speak to thousands of people, month in, month out, and more we're finding ourselves speaking to people who have debt taken out on behalf of somebody else. Someone else made a promise, and that promise didn't deliver, and now they're left holding the baby. Excuse the pun. But, and it's becoming more and more prevalent.
So chat to us about the kind of debt that they're getting into for their partners, because I also think that's important. What are people trying to obtain in the name of love?
Oh, the name of love. I call them STDs, or sexually transmitted debts. It's one of those where, listen, I mean, for the most part, what we deal with are debts that come under the National Credit Act. So somebody needs a loan. They need to borrow money. They need surety on that loan, or people need a quick payday loan. Most of the time, people are taking out loans on behalf of their boyfriend or their husband, trying to clear off credit cards or debts. Maybe they need a small emergency loan, so they get something there, or they're signing for a business loan on that half. We see a lot of that as well.
I mean, but what happens in those conversations? Because I think you guys, as your advisors or as financial advisors, as people who are navigating this, are you guys allowed to advise against it? Because to be honest, I have not seen a scenario where this works out for the person taking out the loan or taking out the particular debt. So when you are advising, around this, what are some of the things that happen in those consultations between the two parties?
Well, one of the weirdest things that we come across is that 9 times out of 10, the person that we're speaking to on the phone has yet to really broach the subject with their partner about the finances, right? It's one of the strangest things in the world, where we find it easier to speak to a stranger about our finances. But the person that's right next to us, that's sleeping next to us, maybe even causing some of the problems with the spending habits, we find it difficult to speak to our partners. And, in the beginning, that honeymoon phase, everything's right? You can't make any mistakes. Sure, I'll sign the empty nuptial, but maybe not. Sure, I'll help you with everything. We're going to be together forever. I think that the best laid plans are set into motion, and the reality is that we're not prepared for this throughout life. And certainly, as debt counselors, it's very tricky to talk to people about their financial decisions based on love, right? Because we're just getting to know you, and it's already too late by the time we've spoken to you. So if we had just spoken sooner, but at that point, you're in love with your person, right? You're in love with your person. You're going to do whatever you can to make that love last.
Sheesh. So maybe chat to us about how you remedy the situation, because there's so many different stories going into this. What happens if you take a car out in your name for someone else, and then they don't end up paying the installments for that, and then you're left with that debt and having to, find the money to pay that off? How does it work in terms of remedying those situations where people are in debt already? It's already too late. Is there a possibility of doing that?
Well, the law is very clear. If it's a debt that was taken out through a bank or financial entity, and that falls under the National Credit Act, cars, loans, store cards, overdrafts, and if you've signed for that debt is 100% yours. Doesn't matter if that person swore blindly, or you have a written letter that says, I promise I'm going to pay Sebastien a certain amount of money every month. Ultimately, they can only come after the people that the person that has signed the paperwork. And how do you remedy that? I mean, we speak to people day in, day out who have left with this situation. They were depending on that partner's money to be able to pay the debt. But when that happens, that's why you've got debt counselors, right? We're here for that very situation. We'll speak to the creditors. We'll sort out a repayment plan. We'll help you slash some interest rates so you don't have to carry that whole burden by yourself. But there's only one way out, and that's to pay the debt, unfortunately.
I was about to say, bottom line, you're still paying.
Yeah. But now let's talk about the relationship that people have with debt. Because I also feel like this is not because of love, it's because we don't understand what debt means. Love already within itself is such an insane emotion. But I think this is more testament to how people view their relationship with, credit and debt.
It's validation, right? I think we go through different stages in our lives where money means different things. In our 20s, we think money is going to mean happiness. As we get throughout our 30s and 40s, we realize that, the responsibility of family and the responsibility of life takes on a different toll. And then as you get older, you stop looking for that validation, right? So I think throughout your life, you think you want the debt, then you get the debt, then you spend half your life paying for the debt, and you don't build any good habits, and then you spend the other half of your life trying to get more debt. So, I can only say that debt means different things at different times, but we certainly all feel different about it.
So what advice do you give the people that are already in debt, or maybe for those of us who aren't there yet? How do we not get involved in situations like this? What would you say to us?
Well, when it comes to money, the person you have to be looking after first is yourself. Think before you do anything. If somebody starts asking you to sign surety, if somebody starts asking you to borrow money on their behalf, you could be the smartest person in the world with the most amount of money, but when love gets involved and manipulation and coercion, it's really hard to say no. And we've got such a history of family responsibility in this country that it becomes hard to say no to so many situations because the burden falls on you to bring the support. All I can say at this situation is, inform yourself. Knowledge is power. Speak to a registered debt counselor. Find out what you can do in order to help. Well, if that situation is already passed. But if people are approaching you, asking for money, make sure you get it in writing, get the repayment plans written up. I'd say don't do it. But in those circumstances that you do, make sure you've written it down, how they're going to pay you back, when they're going to pay you back.
Thank you so much for joining us right here on The Upside. National Debt Advisor Sebastien Alexanderson joining us on The Upside to chat about the women that are paying their men's bills.
I barely pay attention. I can't even pay attention. Listen, and I'm not saying I'd never help my man. Like, please understand something. I am actually such a patriot.
But that's where it starts.
But help means I will say, all the best. May God be with you. I'll pray with you. Yes, kind of such a good move. I will pray with you to get through that which you're going through. And I'll buy you a hot dog and a cool drink. But I'm not paying your bills. You're a man. Deal with it.
On that note, it's 4:30 CAT right here on Channel Africa. Zai Khan, pay the sporting bill, please.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, ladies. Money